There is a word I'm going to teach you today. For 200 years, educated people used it as an insult. If you said something and a scholar in the 1700s called it this word, you had been dismissed. Quietly, politely, but completely. It meant your idea is childish, unsophisticated, beneath serious consideration. And then something happened. The word flipped, slowly, mysteriously, over decades, without anyone deciding it, without anyone announcing it. And today, that same word is one of the highest compliments you can give an idea, a person, or a piece of thinking in the entire English language. How does a word do that? Stay with me, because the answer tells you something extraordinary. Not just about this word, but about how English itself is alive. 5 words, 1 former insult, 1 used exclusively by people who think at the highest level, 1 so perfectly constructed, it sounds like it was invented by someone who loved ideas more than anything else in the world. By the end of this video, very interesting will feel as flat as it sounds, and you will have 5 words that make people lean forward when you speak. Let me tell you what very interesting actually communicates, not what it means. What it communicates when someone tells you about their idea, their project, their theory, their plan, and you say, "That's very interesting." What do they hear? They hear nothing. They hear a door closing politely. They hear the conversational equivalent of a nod from someone who has already stopped listening. Very interesting is the phrase people use when they want to seem engaged without committing to engagement. It is the sound of someone buying time. It is, and I say this with love, a beautiful nothing. But here's the deeper problem. Interesting itself is a word in crisis. It has been used so broadly, so lazily, so universally, for things that are genuinely fascinating and for things that are barely worth a second glance, that it has lost almost all of its meaning. A teacher marks a student's essay. Interesting. A person looks at modern art. They don't understand. Interesting. A politician avoids answering a question. That's a very interesting question. The word has been stretched until it is transparent. You can see right through it. And yet, the feeling it was supposed to describe, that feeling is real. That feeling is one of the best things a human mind can experience. The feeling of encountering an idea that does something to your thinking, that rearranges furniture in your brain without asking, that makes you see something you have seen 100 times and see it completely differently. That feeling deserves better than very interesting. Let me give it better. Out loud. Every word. Ideas deserve a voice. Word 1. Fascinating. That is absolutely fascinating. Start here. This is your immediate, everyday replacement. The first word to reach for when very interesting rises to your lips. But don't treat it as ordinary just because it's accessible. Because fascinating carries something inside it that most people never notice. It comes from the Latin fascinare. To bewitch, to cast a spell, to hold someone so completely that they cannot look away. In ancient Rome, fascinam was a charm, a magical object worn to protect against the evil eye. Something with the power to fix your attention so completely that nothing else could reach you. That is what fascinating means in its bones. Not mildly engaging, spellbound. The history of this building is fascinating. I've been reading about it for hours. She has a fascinating mind. Every conversation leaves you with something to think about. I find it fascinating that no one has asked this question before. Feel the pull in those sentences, the inability to look away, the hours disappearing, when something genuinely holds you. Fascinating is the word that tells the truth about it. Word 2, compelling. The argument is compelling. I found it completely compelling. Now we move from feeling to force. Compelling doesn't just attract you, it moves you. It pushes you toward a conclusion you might not have chosen on your own. From the Latin compellere, to drive together, to force, to push a herd in one direction. A compelling argument doesn't just interest you, it changes your position. A compelling story doesn't just entertain you, it makes you feel something you didn't give it permission to make you feel. The documentary was compelling. I went in skeptical and came out a different person. Her case was so compelling that even her critics went quiet. There's something compelling about the way he writes. You don't agree with everything, but you can't stop reading. That last sentence is important. You don't agree with everything, but you can't stop reading. That is the specific power of compelling. It doesn't need your agreement. It only needs your attention, and it takes it, whether you offer it or not. Use compelling when an idea has force, when it moves something in the person encountering it. Word 3, thought-provoking. That was genuinely thought-provoking. Now we slow down, because thought-provoking is different from the others. It doesn't describe your reaction in the moment. It describes what happens after. The residue an idea leaves, provoking, to call forth, to summon something that wasn't active before. Thought-provoking means, this idea reached inside me and woke something up. I am still thinking about it. I will think about it tonight. I will think about it in the shower tomorrow morning. It is in me now, and it is doing something, and I don't yet know what. The lecture was thought-provoking. I've been turning it over ever since. That's a thought-provoking question. Let me actually think about it. It's a small book, but extraordinarily thought-provoking. I've given away 4 copies. That last sentence. Given away 4 copies. Because thought-provoking ideas don't stay still. They need to move. They need to find other minds to wake up. Use thought-provoking when an idea is still working on you, when the interesting hasn't finished yet. Word 4. The former insult intriguing. That is genuinely intriguing. Here it is. The word that spent 200 years as a dismissal and emerged, transformed, as a compliment. In the 17th and 18th centuries, intrigue came from the French and Italian words for a secret plot, a scheme, a conspiracy conducted in shadows, something underhand, manipulative, not entirely honest. To call an idea intriguing was to suggest it was the intellectual equivalent of a back-alley deal. Clever, perhaps, but not to be trusted. The kind of thinking that appeals to people who lack the discipline for proper reasoning. It was, quietly and precisely, an insult. And then, the shadows became attractive. Something shifted in how people thought about mystery, about complexity, about ideas that don't reveal themselves immediately, about questions that resist clean answers. Intriguing began to mean, this idea has a secret inside it. I can sense it. I cannot quite reach it yet, and I need to. The theory is intriguing. I'm not sure it's right, but I can't find the flaw. She said something intriguing at dinner. I keep coming back to it. There's an intriguing gap in the data. Something happened here that we don't understand yet. Intriguing is the word for ideas that are interesting precisely because they are not fully visible. The ones that show you just enough to make you lean forward and then withhold the rest. It is the most intellectually honest word on this list because it admits uncertainty. It says, I am drawn to this. I do not yet know why, but I intend to find out. For 200 years, it was an insult. Now, it is what the most curious people in the room say when they find something worth pursuing. Words change, and when they change, they sometimes become more true than they were before. Word 5. The word for highest minds riveting. It was absolutely riveting. I told you one of these words was used exclusively by people who think at the highest level. I was not being precise. Riveting is used by everyone, but it produces a specific effect. It makes whoever says it sound like someone who takes ideas seriously, someone who has been genuinely physically held by a piece of thinking. Because riveting comes from the rivet, the metal fastener, the bolt that holds two pieces of steel together under enormous pressure, unmoving, permanent, refusing to yield. To be riveted is to be bolted to something, fixed in place, unable, not unwilling to leave. The debate was riveting. I forgot to eat. She gave a riveting account of what happened. The room was completely silent. I picked up the book at 9 in the evening. I finished it at 3 in the morning. It was riveting. That last sentence, 9 in the evening to 3 in the morning. Not because you decided to stay up, because the book bolted you to it and didn't release you until it was done. Riveting is for the ideas and stories and arguments that remove your freedom of movement, not by force, but by being so completely, so precisely, so overwhelmingly worth your attention, that leaving never occurs to you. Every episode, a story. Today, the story is a conversation, the best conversation of someone's life. They are at a dinner, small table, 4 people, and one of them, someone they have just met, begins to talk, not loudly, not performing, just talking, thinking out loud. The first thing they say catches everyone. A fact no one knew, a connection no one had made. Fascinating. The table goes quiet without deciding to. They continue. They are building something. An argument. A structure. Each sentence placing a stone on the last, and slowly the direction becomes clear, and it is not where anyone expected. Compelling. Someone puts down their fork. They finish. There is a silence. Not awkward. The kind of silence that follows something that needs a moment. Someone says, I need to think about that, and they mean it. Tomorrow they will still be thinking about it. Thought-provoking. The idea already moving into the future. But there is one part, one specific claim in the middle of everything, that doesn't resolve, that sits at the table like an unopened box, visible, present, refusing to explain itself fully, intriguing, the secret inside the argument, the part that will pull them back. Later, walking home, one person turns to the other. That was the best conversation I've had in years. I know, the other says. Riveting, fascinating, compelling, thought-provoking, intriguing, riveting. One conversation. 5 words, in exactly the order that a great idea moves through a room. Your challenge this week, think of an idea that has stayed with you. A book, a conversation, a documentary, a theory. Something someone said that you haven't finished thinking about yet. Write 1 sentence in the comments describing it, using one of today's 5 words. Not a summary, not an explanation, just what was it and what did it do to your thinking? 1 sentence. I read every one. I reply to everyone. And I will say this. The people who comment on these videos are some of the most thoughtful, most curious people I have encountered anywhere on the internet. Come and add your sentence. You belong in that company. Today you learned 5 words that replace very interesting and actually describe what it feels like when an idea gets inside you. Fascinating, spellbound, bewitched, unable to look away, compelling, moved, pushed, changed without permission, thought-provoking, still working on you, still unfinished, still awake at 2 a.m., intriguing, the former insult, the word that flipped, the idea with a secret inside it, riveting, bolted to something, unable, not unwilling, to leave. Next episode. Very difficult, and I want to tell you now. One of those words was forged, literally forged, in the language of soldiers, of people who did hard things under impossible conditions and needed a word that told the truth about what hard actually feels like. It is not a gentle word, but it is an honest one, and sometimes honest is exactly what you need. If this series is changing how you think about language, not just how you use it, but what it actually is, subscribe, because that is what we're doing here. Every week, one word at a time, going inside the language, finding what's been waiting there for you. I'll see you in the next one.